Saturday Draftstars, we are here. Raiders, Warriors, Panthers, Sharks, Rabbitohs v the Storm. A couple of very interesting matchups, especially those second two games. It's going to be very exciting to watch and I can't wait. So jump in the description below, guys. If you haven't signed up before, please do that. And we'll get cranking here with the outside backs. And very, very close to a must-have this week would be Latrell Mitchell. Coming off, three really nice games, a return game with 40, 62, and then really warmed it up with 100 last week. And I'm expecting anything above a 50 mark. And if you can get that from an 18,600 player, you're really cheering. And obviously that's up against the Storm. They haven't been as good lately as they have been in recent years. So I think Latrell could really step up in this clash and really show that the Souths are here to play and be a factor in this final series. So Latrell, a great option there. If you're looking at all the Panthers guys, you'll see Dylan Edwards here has really consistent stats, and that's great. Since the last 6 games, his lowest score is 41, and I would be inclined to pick him up. What you'll see though with Taylor May, To'o, also for Tungo and Crichton, is they all have really solid stats over the last bunch of weeks. Tungo there, very consistent in the last 2. You see Crichton hasn't been playing too much, but he has some really solid stats also, and all of these guys. To'o is probably the most interesting one. I think at the cheaper price, he has the biggest opportunity to score the best, I believe, out of all of them. So I'd probably pick To'o over a Dylan Edwards, even if he is that little bit more consistent with a minimum, of 41 there. So that's my theory around the Panthers guys. Alex Johnson's obviously always a great selection, but coming up against the Storm, I can't see him scoring 2 or 3 tries, whereas when he scores 3 tries like last week and the week before, a 63 and a 52. So unless he's getting a double or a triple this week, I don't think he'll be able to score anywhere near that. When you can get a similar score from someone like Ramian or even more when he only scores the 1 or 2 tries and just gets a bunch of tackle breaks and stuff like that. So Ramian, always a great option there as well. If we're going lighter, someone like Talakai is very, very interesting at 11,850. He's had 3 scores of 50 or above in his last 4. So if you can pick that up from 11,800 kind of player, then he's going to be super important in that Penrith v Cronulla game. If we're looking a little bit lower, then I think Savage is one you could potentially pick up. He does come out against the Warriors, so a potential try should be in his name this week, I would think, or a few assists. And he hasn't scored a 40 for 4 weeks now, so that's the worry with Savage. But I still think at that price, you're not going to be too poorly off there at all. Isaiah Tass, a very interesting one at 10,700. He's been scoring really well, averaging 41 in his last 3, and I think he can continue that somewhere around that mid-30s to a 40 if the Souths can play pretty well. So that's going to be your main question, is if they can come out and do that. Stephen Crichton's a really interesting one out of those Panthers guys. If he can get over for a meat pie at 10,000, he could be pretty cool to select in your side. And I think there's too many options up top to even look at guys that are this cheap. So we'll move to the halves and the hookers there, and a bunch of really good selections up top. And very surprising to see Nathan Cleary third on this list there at 23,120. A really high price still, but if you're comparing him to Cookie or Hines, he sits just below those two. And obviously, if you're playing the individual matchup there, Hines v Cleary at the same price, do you just go for Cleary? Do you think Sharks can win? What are we thinking here? Obviously, both those guys are scoring super well, so completely up to you, and I'd flip a coin on that one as to which team you think is going to win and make your decision from that. If you're playing that South v Melbourne game, I think Munster or Cook is the way to go to spend up in this position here. Both have the ability to score super well. Cook being the one that's been averaging the most. A 71.4 is his lowest in his last 6 games. So really, you're picking him based on the fact that he can get anywhere over 70 on a consistent basis with the tackles, with the running, potential tries, and try assists as well. So that's that starter there. Obviously, Harry's a solid one, Jerome Hughes, but I think they're a little bit too expensive. Api Coruscant, if you're going a little bit lighter in that Penrith game, is coming off a couple of good games, and a 17,500 could be really solid. Blake Brayley, another okay one, but I feel like there's better options in that game for sure. A little bit lighter now at Dejan Arce at 12,500, has scored a few decent ones at 6 there. He's partnering Sean Johnson this week, who's had 2 really good games. This will be a very interesting one against Canberra. Can they get close in this game? I think Canberra should come out and beat them at home. But I think one of those guys could be very interesting if you think there's going to be an upset there. Jerome Luai, that 10,000 mark, he's had a couple of lower games now, so I'm probably going to steer clear of him, although it might mean that he is due for a bounce-back game, and that would be all I look at in the halves and the hookers. We go to the forwards now, and there's a few great options as per usual. Joseph Tarpany is always a great option here. He's coming off his lowest game in a long time, about 8 weeks there. So at 22,520, he could be one of those guys you just have to plug in at that expensive price here. Someone I think is super important in that same game is Adam Elliott. He gets the 13 roll this week and a lowest score in the last 5 weeks of 58. So if you're getting that at 18,000, you're absolutely cheering. Guys like Hudson Young, also great, averaging 59. So he's coming off one low game, and I think he'll bounce back from that. Great chance of a try for him. Someone like Cam Murray, obviously having a week off there, comes back and is one of the best picks in this game as well. But again, you're looking at somewhere between a 55 and a 65. Is it worth it at 20,660? Or can you find that little bit of consistency somewhere else with someone like Colin Matangi you can get for a few $1,000 cheaper? So there's that. There's plenty of guys here. The Tohu Harrises, the Aikens, Isaiah Yo's, all very solid. But if you're looking for a little bit of value, we're going to have to drop down a little bit lower. I think Jazz Tavanga provides a bit. Yeah, get him close to a 50 score here in that 13 role, playing around that 50 minutes or so, which is always good. You got Tavita Totola coming off a bunch of great games. So if you want to go in this mid tier, then Totola could do that for you. Nelson Asafa Solomona has been scoring a bunch of tries and is averaging 55 in his last 3. So really solid there for that price at 13.6. And then going lower from there, guys like Britton Nakora could score the odd try. Fanukins there as a solid one. Tui Kamakamika has had a couple of okay scores of recent times. So if you need somewhere close to a 40, then he should be able to provide that for you. But I think Moses Leota in that Panthers game versus Cronulla is always a really solid one. You know, he had that lower score at 34, but at a minimum, if you're getting 34, you're not going to be too upset by that. And I think he's a very important one. Obviously, an up and down type of player would be Liam Martin. And then guys like Wade Graham, you could have a little bit of a stab at. But generally, that is all I want to speak about in this video. I wish you guys all the best of luck for your Saturday selections. And as I said, jump down into that description, sign up, play Draftstars for the first time if you haven't done it. If you're a regular watcher, thank you for being here very much. And we'll catch you in that Sunday video. See you later.